Hello students, we are going to learn human biology and health, and from this part we are going to summarize the circulatory system. The circulatory system, as you know, is one type of transport system in our body that is used to supply required materials or needed materials for our body cells, and it also helps to remove waste materials from the body. And when we look at the circulatory system, it has three components. The first component is the pipe, that means the blood vessels, and the second component is the pump, which is the heart, and the third component is the medium, that is the blood. And when we look at the human circulatory system, it is type of double circulation, which means blood will enter to the heart twice, and due to this the name double circulation is given for such type of blood circulation. In addition to this, compared with other type of blood circulation, double circulation is efficient in providing sufficient oxygen to our body cells. For that reason, it is considered as the more advanced type of blood circulation. The circulatory system, as we said, has three components, and among these three components, the first one is the blood vessels. The blood vessels, as you see, are three in their type, and these three types of blood vessels are arteries, vein, and capillaries. If you remember from your previous classes, you have learned in detail the structure, the function, and the difference between these three types of blood vessels. To remind you about the blood vessels, I am going to tell you one difference between each of three blood vessels. And the first one, the arteries, they are known by taking blood from the heart to different parts of our body. And the veins, which are the second type of blood vessels, are known by taking blood back to the heart. That means the arteries will return blood, they will take blood to the body parts, and in the contrary, the veins will return blood back to the heart. The third type of blood vessels are capillaries. The capillaries join veins and arteries, which means they are found between arteries and vein. In addition to this, capillaries play important role in exchange of material between blood and our body cell. For that reason, they are considered as site of exchange of materials. And the other difference that you have to remember about arteries, vein, and capillaries is concerning their structural difference. If you look at arteries, they have thick wall. Having a thick wall is important because since arteries take blood away from the heart, they will pump blood longer distance. For this reason, they need thick wall that can resist the pressure. In addition to this, veins take blood back to the heart, and in this case, the structure of vein is best suited for their function because it do not need thicker wall, rather it has thin wall and it has valves that can allow blood to move in one direction. The capillaries structurally, they are made up of a single cell thick structure, which means the wall of capillary is made up of one cell thick structure. That indicate as capillaries are very thin in their structure. This allow capillaries to exchange materials between blood and the cell. And when we come to the second component, that is the heart, as we said, is the pumping device of our circulatory system. And this device is made up of a special type of muscle known as cardiac muscle. The cardiac muscle contract and relax continuously to allow the heart to perform its function. And the heart by itself is supplied by coronary artery, different nutrients like oxygen and dissolved food products for the cell is supplied by coronary artery. And the heart structurally, as you have learned in your class, has 4 chambers. I hope you remember these 4 chambers, which are namely 2 atria and 2 ventricles. If you remember in your lesson, the atria are found, or they are situated on the upper part of the heart, and the ventricles are situated on the lower part of the heart. And when we look at these structures, they are best suited for their function. Why? Because the auricles that are found on the upper part will receive blood and transfer the blood to the ventricles. If we say this much about the structure of heart, now we are going to see how blood circulates in our body. Since we are talking about circulatory system, it is important to note the circulation of blood in our body. Blood circulation starts in our heart and it ends up in our heart. And when blood returns back to the heart, it is carried by vena cava. The vena cava is the largest vein, as you know, and this vein will collect all blood in our body, that is deoxygenated blood actually, and this vena cava returns the deoxygenated blood to the heart through right auricle. The right auricle is the one that receives deoxygenated blood from our body, and this deoxygenated blood will pump to the right ventricle. As I have told you earlier, the auricles and the ventricles are situated in such a way that they can perform their function. Therefore, the right ventricle receive deoxygenated blood from right auricle, and this deoxygenated blood will pump to the lung by pulmonary artery. It will transport by pulmonary artery to the lung. Why? From your lesson on respiratory system, you know that the lung is important for exchange of gases. Therefore, the deoxygenated blood must be oxygenated in the lung, and in order to gain oxygen and lose carbon dioxide, the deoxygenated blood must transport to the lung by pulmonary artery. In the lung, what will happen? In the lung, as you know, there is a site of gas exchange that we call air sacs or the alveoli, and these small structures in our lung play important role in the exchange of gases between blood and the atmosphere, or between the blood and the lung atmosphere. And then the deoxygenated blood in the lung release the carbon dioxide, and it will take the oxygen from the alveoli and return back to the heart by pulmonary vein. And pulmonary vein transport the blood, the oxygenated blood, into left auricle. The left auricle pump blood to the left ventricle and finally to aorta. As you see here, the blood enters to the heart twice. That's why we have said that the human circulatory system is a type of double circulation. Secondly, in this circulation of blood, or in this road, what we can understood is when blood enters to the heart, it can supply oxygen to all parts of the body, because the heart pumps this blood by using left ventricle through aorta. And the aorta, as you know, is the largest artery, and arteries can pump blood to different distance, even large distance from the heart. For that reason, they have thicker wall. In addition to this, on this circulation, what you have to remember is The left ventricle, compared with the other chambers of the heart, has thick wall. It has thick wall, or we can say that the left ventricle is the thickest chamber of our heart. This is because it can pump oxygenated blood all over the body. For that reason, it needs more thicker walls in order to exert more pressure to the blood. And the other point in this circulation that you have to remember is blood flows only in one direction. That means there is no backflow of blood in our circulatory system. This is because in our heart there are valves that prevent backflow of blood, or in other words, these valves are important to allow blood to move in one direction. Unidirectional flow of blood will occur in our circulatory system due to the presence of valves. I hope you remember these valves that can allow our blood to flow in one direction. If you remember, these valves are 3 in number. They are tricuspid valve, bicuspid valve, and semilunar valves. I hope you define and you are able to know the location of these valves in our heart. And the other one in this circulation that you have to remember is blood circulate in our heart, and at this time when the heart circulates the blood, there is contraction and relaxation of the chambers. When the heart chamber relax, blood will enter to these chambers, and we call this condition diastole. We call it diastole, and at this time, since the muscles are relaxed, the pressure is low. And the other one is systole, in which the the heart muscle contract. When they contract, they exert pressure on the blood, and this leads to have high pressure. And the next part that we are going to see is the third component of the circulatory system, which is the blood. The blood, as you have learned in your lesson, has 4 main components. The blood has 4 main components. The first component is the plasma. The first component is the plasma. The plasma is the liquid part of our blood, and it is very important to carry dissolved food or digested food. It is also used to carry waste products like carbon dioxide, like urea in our body. And the second component of the heart is red blood cells. You know that red blood cells are very important in our circulatory system because they carry oxygen. Red blood cells carry oxygen because they have a special type of hemoglobin, that is a special type of protein that is known as hemoglobin. And hemoglobin is type of protein situated to carry oxygen in our body. And the third component of the blood are white blood cells, which are very important in defending our body from diseases. They defend our body from disease, or in other words, you can say that the white blood cells are part of our immune system. They defend the body by attacking microorganisms that can cause disease. When this microorganism enters to our body, they will be engulfed or they will be killed by the white blood cells before they produce the disease. And the third component of the blood are platelets. Platelets are important in clotting. You know, clotting is very important in our blood, in our circulatory system. And this clotting process is mainly governed by platelets, which are the fourth component of the blood. We have said that the blood is very important in carrying oxygen. It is very important in defending the body from disease-causing microorganisms and so on. So, which part of the blood is responsible for carrying oxygen, we have to know that the oxygen in our body is carried by hemoglobin, which is found on red blood cell. And the other one is the role of platelets, as we said, is clotting. So we need to know the biological importance of clotting. Clotting is important for some reason, at least 3 reasons. The first one, clotting is important to prevent bleeding to death. For example, if someone is injured by a car accident or due to different reason, if there is injury in our body, there is clearly blood flow, and at this time the blood will stop after a while because of the action of platelets. We call this process clotting, and one of biological importance of clotting is to prevent bleeding to death. And the other importance of clotting is to prevent entry of bacteria to the body. Why? Because at the time of injury, what will happen? Our blood vessels become open, and this opening will allow microorganisms to enter to the blood, and finally they will cause infection to our body. This problem can be prevented by the action of platelets or by the process of clotting. And the third one is it is used to protect new skin from damage. Again, when someone is injured by a particular condition, and if this injured part of the body start to cover by the process of clotting, this part start to produce or start to synthesize new skin under the injured portion, and this new skin is not as such strong to resist bacterial or the entrance of microorganisms. At this time, process of clotting, some disease-causing microorganisms, and also this newly formed skin cannot be damaged by external injury. The next one that we are going to see is blood grouping. Blood grouping. In this part, before we looked at blood grouping, we need to know something or some ideas about antibody and antigens. I hope you have learned the difference between antigens and antibodies. Antigens are type of proteins that are found on the surface of cells. The antigens are important because they allow cells to recognize with each other, which means antigens are used as cell recognition or identity for the cell. And antibodies are also proteins, but they are produced by plasma, the plasma portion of the blood. So what is the link between antigen and antibody with that of blood grouping? Human blood grouping system is based on the type of these different antigens and antibody that are found in our body. So antigens that are found in our body are of 2 types, antigen A and antigen B, and the antibody that is produced in our plasma is of 2 types. It is anti-A and anti-B. It is produced in this form. So based on the type of antigen, and antibody in our blood, the human blood group is grouped into commonly 4 groups, or in this part we are going to see only one type of human blood grouping system, that is ABO blood grouping system. The ABO blood grouping system grouped the human blood into 4 classes. The first one is type A blood group. Type A blood group is characterized by having A antigen on red blood cell and anti-B antibody in the plasma. In other words, individuals that are known as type A individuals. Type A individuals have antibody anti-B in their plasma, and they have antigen A on the surface of red blood cell. This make type A individuals different from other blood group individuals. And the second group is type B, like that of type A individuals. Type B individuals have B antigen on their red blood cell, and they have anti-A antibody in their plasma. So this interaction, the interaction of antibody and antigen in our body, is very important to know the type of blood group. Again, it plays important role at the time of blood donation. Why? Because you know that our blood is contained in our body and there is no chance to mix with other blood under normal circumstance, but when there is some injury, we are exposed to donate or to receive blood from other individuals. At that time, knowing the type of blood group is very important. And when we come to the third blood group, that is type AB blood group. Type AB blood group individuals are the third the third group, and they have both A and B antigen in their blood, and they have no antibody. And the fourth group, O, blood group O, is the fourth group that has no antigen, and it has both antibody A and antibody B. And when we come to blood transfusion, the process in which one give blood to other individual at the time of injury, type A individual can donate blood to type A individual and type AB individual, which means group A person can give blood for group A and AB, only for group A and AB, and this type A individual can receive blood from type A and from type O individuals. And the second group, type B individual, can receive blood from type B individual and type O individual. And the third one, type AB individual, can donate only for AB individual, and it can receive from all blood groups. And type O individual can donate blood for all type of blood groups, and it can receive only from type O individual. This is because of the difference of the presence of antigen and antibody. Okay, the next part that we are going to see is problems in circulatory system, human disorders in circulatory system. The human circulatory system may have different disorder, or we may have disorders or diseases of the circulatory system, but here we have only two examples that are common in our country, Ethiopia. One is anemia and the other one is hypertension. From your lesson, you know that anemia is caused by lack of iron in our diet, whereas hypertension is a condition that results due to high pressure. This high pressure can be due to our lifestyle, it can be due to our way of living, sedentary life, or high blood pressure can be caused by aging when the age increases, and also it can be caused by taking more salt in our diet, and so on. You have number of reasons for having high blood pressure. To wind up all our discussion, we have seen that the circulatory system as one type of transport system in our body, which carries digested food, waste materials in our body, and this circulatory system play important role in providing necessary nutrients to our body. And also we have seen that The circulatory system has 3 components: the pump, the pipe, and the medium: blood, heart, and vessels. After that, we have tried to see the 3 components and their function. So you are expected to remember all these important points when you study your textbook. And this is all for today. Thank you.